So when the Montreal Canadiens took the speedy star in the 1970 draft, we knew he was going to do something with his career, and that's what he just did. That's what he did. A two-time Stanley Cup champion with Montreal, basically played on their top line for a couple of seasons. Coming out of the Team Canada and the WCHL program, he was one of the best centers that the Habs ever drafted. Even though he didn't stay a long time with the Habs, what he did in St. Louis was tremendous as well. So today we're talking about the 6'2", 185-pound center, the Manitoba Hall of Fame member, Chuck Lefley. Now, he was the MJHL Rookie of the Year with Winnipeg in '66, and also had one assist for Team Canada at the '69 Worlds in Stockholm. His first contract was signed August 29, 1970, and he had his debut in November of that year against Buffalo. He also played with St. Louis for a couple of seasons after he left Montreal. Now, winning a Stanley Cup with Montreal in '71 and '73 made him a household name. Of course, with Montreal, we couldn't decide which number he was wearing. He wore 6, 8, 21, and 24. Now, he joined the Canadian national team program as a 17-year-old in '67 after spending 2 seasons with the hometown Winnipeg Rangers of the WJHL. Now, the native of the big city, played for Winnipeg in the '66 Memorial Cup tournament. Was with the national team during the '68 season, but was not on the '68 Olympic squad. An outstanding baseball player during his junior career, he was made part of the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame as a part of the Gross Isle Blue Jays from '88 to '93. Now, he played, again, was a center, but played left wing for most of his career. Was able to have his name engraved in the Stanley Cup in '71 because they played one playoff game for the Habs. Game 6 of the first round series versus Boston on April 15, '71. He won an AHL Calder Cup with Nova Scotia in '72. He eventually found his way to St. Louis, and he led them in points, 85, and goals, 43 and 76. He set a St. Louis single-season record since broken for points with 85, goals with 43, shorthanded goals with 8, and assists by a left winger with 42 and 76. He won the St. Louis Goaltenders Club Star of the Game Award for '76. Now, he also won the St. Louis Goaltenders Club Most Improved Player Award for '76. Again, inducted in the Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame in '86 and in the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame in 2014. Now, the idea about Chuck, again, is his speedy play and everything together, worked. But I think it was a mistake by Montreal to trade him for all people. He was traded by Montreal to St. Louis in exchange for Don Orey. Now, eventually, on October 9, '77, 3 days before the start of the '78 season, he announced he had decided to retire from hockey at the age of 27 to commit himself to farming in Manitoba. He said he was retiring for personal reasons because he's no longer happy being a pro player. He left St. Louis, where he had been a 40-goal scorer 2 seasons earlier, and initially went home to Canada. By November, however, he had gone to Helsinki and signed a 3-year contract with Jokerit. He would spend the next 2 years in Europe, revitalizing his career. Although he came back to the Blues, the team, not happy with his decision to retire and play in Europe, was over him. The Blues still owned his NHL rights, and Emile Francis, St. Louis's president and GM, did not think Lefley should be allowed to play in Europe without compensation from the European team. At the time, the NHL was required to pay the International Ice Hockey Federation $50,000 for every European player it signed. There was nothing to stop the IHF clubs from signing North Americans. Nothing came of Francis' complaints. The Blues were able to reclaim Lefley when he decided to return to the NHL on June 29, '79, saying he felt like he had rediscovered his love for the game and wanted to play for the Blues again. Now, also known by many as the breakaway kid, because he would score many of his goals on a one-on-one. Now, besides Montreal and Nova Scotia, the AHL, he played in Dusseldorf as well in West Germany. Now, he also worked as a minor hockey coach in Warren, Manitoba, for numerous campaigns after his retirement. Now, when he returned to his hometown of Gros Isle, Manitoba, after his retirement, and devoted himself full-time to the Lefley farm, his family's cattle and grain farm, while also working as a minor hockey coach. He remained active in sports of golf, curling, and senior baseball at an amateur level, and again, he played on the Gros Isle Blue Jays senior team that won interleague championships in 89, 90, and 93. And again, of course, he's the younger brother of former NHL player, the great Brian Lefley. Now, eventually selected by the Ottawa Nationals in the 72 WHA Draft, the first ever in February 72. He was also selected by the Jets in the 73 WHA Draft of established pro players. Now, he was represented by Boston agent Bob Wolf in signing his first NHL contract with Montreal in 1970. A lot of people believe it was the high five figures, and I tend to agree. He was well in demand. Now, when he was traded again for Ori, he set that franchise and record for 43 goals, but of course was broken by Wayne Babbage. Now, Lefley, whose older brother Brian, spent 5 seasons in the NHL, left the Blues in 78 again to go over to Finland, and eventually found his way home. So he was MJHL Rookie of the Year in 66, a Turnbull Cup WJHL title winner also in 66, Calder Cup winner in 72 in Nova Scotia, Stanley Cup title in 71, 73, and an honor member of the Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, with the MJHL Winnipeg Rangers, his first season in 66, he had 39 points in 46 games. 67 with the Rangers, 46 points in 43 contests. With the national team in 68, 69, and 70. And also played with the Brandon Wheatkins of the WCHL with 12 games that year. Drafted by Montreal, again, played 1 game in 71, and 1 game in the postseason with the Voyageurs that year, 35 points in 48 contests. 72, 2 assists in 16 games, but with the Voyageurs, 45 points, including 14 in the postseason. First big season with Montreal was in 74, a big 23 points, 23 goals his rookie season with 54 total, 46 total points. That's with 73 campaign, 21, 25, 46. 74, 23 counters, 31 assists for 54 points. 75, after a rough start of the season, only had 1 goal in 18 games. He scored 23 in 57 contests for the Blues in their open system, 49 points. 76, 85 points, scoring 43 goals and 2 goals in the postseason. 77, after playing most of the campaign with 11 goals and 41 assists, he went to Jocaret, 23 points in 24 games, and in Dusseldorf in 79, 22 points in 26 games, including 17 goals. In partial play with St. Louis in 1980, he had 6 goals and 6 assists for 12 points in 28 games, and wrapped up his career in 81 with only 2 contests. NHL totals: 407 games, 128 goals, 164 assists for 292 points, and 29 games in the postseason, and of course 3 goals in Montreal's Stanley Cup run in 73, including 8 points in 17 games. So he was, like I said, he at one point I think he was also playing on a line with Guy Lafleur. So, but Chuck Lefley, what a talent! And like I said, you do worse to have a player like Chuck Lefley, probably one of the best third line players in Montreal Canadiens history. Just the fact is, Montreal was looking for an established defenseman. I think it was one of the worst trades he did, going for Ori. God bless him, but Don Ori was not the player Chuck Lefley was. Maybe he had all these prospects coming up, but I have to believe that he may have traded him to make room for Murray Wilson and Gainey, and I think I'm going to stick to that than Tremblay, Lambert, and Risebrough. But, I would never have traded Chuck Lefley, because look what he did in St. Louis. He could easily be the 40-goal scorer, a pure goal scorer with Montreal and St. Louis. So if you like what we're doing here with our Montreal Canadiens podcast, let us know what a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.